Imagine this. 10 years from now, you marry your best friend. Your love hasn't changed since the day you gave your vows. The day before your 8th wedding anniversary, your significant other goes to the doctors for routine testing. It is determined that they have a mass on their brain and only have 6 months to live. In that 6 months, their bodily functions will deteriorate with the coming months. What do you do now? Today I want to discuss death with dignity and why it should be legalized in more states. We will all come across death one way or another. Choosing to understand death with dignity will allow us to understand why people choose death with dignity. My resources are credible because they come from death with dignity organizations and state laws. I will discuss the need of death with dignity, then solutions to the need, and finally, I will discuss a woman who utilized death with dignity. Now we're going to take a look at death with dignity and why we should legalize it. For my class survey, I asked, why do you think death with dignity should be banned? 60% of my class said that it should not be banned, while 40% said that it should be banned because it is murder. People believe that death with dignity should not be legalized because it's an easy way out. According to the Death with Dignity organization's article, How Death with Dignity Laws Work, it comes from the terminally ill people, not government and its interference, politicians and their ideologies, or religious leaders and their dogma, who should make their end-of-life decisions and determine how much pain and suffering they should endure. People who do not believe in death with dignity are getting in the way of people who want to utilize it. According to CNN Library, August 13, 2018, death with dignity is legal in 7 U.S. states and the District of Columbia. It is an option given to individuals by law in the District of Columbia, Hawaii, Oregon, Vermont, and Washington. Only 7 of the 50 states actually have legalized death with dignity. Dr. David Grube, August 28, 2018, tells us that individuals who choose death with dignity do not want to die in a hospital. They are knowledgeable of their options, yet they choose death with dignity. In my survey, I asked, do you know some or all of the requirements of death with dignity? 60% of the class did not know any requirements, while 40% of them knew some of the requirements. Each state has their own act or law stating what is required to qualify for death with dignity. Hawaii's new Our Care, Our Choice Act will be in effect as of January 1st, 2019. According to Sandra Dalton, April 30th, 2018, one of the requirements is that patients must self-administer the medication. This means that the patient would have to be able to pick up the pill, put it in their mouth, and swallow it on their own. The Death with Dignity organization's article, How Death with Dignity Laws Work, tells us that patients must be 18 years or older to qualify for death with dignity in all of states that are legalized it. This allows for mature adults to decide whether death with dignity is the right option for them or not. I asked, why do you think people choose death with dignity? 70% of my class had positive reasons for death with dignity, such as ending suffering. 30% of the class said that it was a way for people to escape pain in life in general. Understanding the requirements can help us to understand why people choose death with dignity in their end of life. Without this understanding, we're only looking at it from our viewpoint. Oregon Health Authority article about the Death with Dignity Act writes that diagnosed with a terminal illness that will lead to death within 6 months. People choose death with dignity because they have 6 months or less to live. And those last 6 months can be brutal for not only the individual, but their family as well. As all of these facts may not allow you to understand the importance of death with dignity, but maybe Brittany Maynard will. Brittany Maynard wrote on November 2nd, 2014, that on New Year's Day, after months of suffering from debilitating headaches, I learned that I had brain cancer. I was 29 years old. I'd been married for just over a year. My husband and I were trying for a family. Brittany was a young school teacher with the rest of her life in front of her. Maynard, November 2nd, 2014, wrote, "Our lives evolved into hospital stays, doctors, consultations, and medical research. 9 days after my initial diagnosis, I had a partial craniotomy and a partial resection of my temporal lobe. Brittany was then given a diagnosis of 6 months to live, but the tumors grew back, and even stronger this time." According to Lindsay Beaver, November 2nd, 2014, Brittany was diagnosed with stage 4 malignant brain tumor. Brittany decided that death with dignity would be her last chance of living her life out long enough that it will still be enjoyable. Maynard, November 2nd, 2014, wrote that when my suffering becomes too great, I can say to all those I love you, come be by my side, and come say goodbye as I pass into whatever's next. I will die upstairs in my bedroom with my husband, mother, stepfather, and my best friend by my side and pass peacefully. I can't imagine trying to rob anyone else of that choice. Brittany and her family picked up their lives to move to Oregon, where she could qualify for death with dignity. Brittany passed away peacefully in her bedroom, surrounded by her closest friends and family, on November 1st, 2014. I asked, would you like death with dignity to be legal in your state? 70% said they would like to legalize it in their state, while 30% said they would not. Brittany wanted it legal in California, where she lived with her husband. She was advocating for the legalization of death with dignity until she became too ill. Death with dignity has been discussed for why we need it, for it being the solution, and how a young girl utilized it to end her own story. The legalization of death with dignity could happen, but it is up to us. All you have to do is tell one person about what death with dignity truly is, and then the cycle will continue. Death with dignity needs awareness because what people know about it is commonly wrong. Legalization of death with dignity in more states allows more people to have the death with dignity option. Death with dignity is not an easy way out of a terminal illness. It is a chance for an individual to decide how their story ends. It is a chance for them to pass away in peace with their family and friends beside them. They should not be ashamed of their choice, and they should have the right to make their choice. Are you going to stand in their way? Or are you going to choose to allow others to make their own decisions?